The Sports Scouting Report with Lee Burkeen. Brought to you by Medine's Collision Center in Baton Rouge. Take control, choose Medine's. Grosse Savant Lodge, south of Lake Charles, the true sportsman's paradise. Treads and Care Company in Central, the tires you need, the service you want. Harvey Auto in Shreveport, Bossier City, the name you have trusted for years. And Gage in Baton Rouge. Get better connected with Gage. Here's your host, Lee Burkeen.
Hi everyone, I'm Lee Burkeen with the Sports Scouting Report podcast, the host, and we've got a great guest today. Legendary coach Don Rodrigue, who is retired as a coach, but never retired with football. When I go to a high school game, I run into Don more than you see parents. He's on the sideline. Sometimes he's still coaching some of these teams because he's so passionate about the game. And we're going to talk about the lineman camp that they do in Thibodaux at Nicholls State. Great job with the lineman camp. We're going to talk about some other camps they do Coach Don is involved in. And also we're going to talk some high school football. I know Coach has a long track record of not only coaching but playing college football as a linebacker at McNeese State in Lake Charles. And we'll talk about a lot of the colleges in state. We'll talk about some of the Louisiana natives that are coaching colleges in Louisiana. I'm going to share that with Don and get his thoughts. He knows all these guys. We'll be right back.
Listen, whatever you're driving right now, Tommy Harvey wants it. Bring it in to Harvey Subaru, Lexus of Shreveport, Bossier City, or John Harvey Toyota. They're paying big bucks for all trades right now. They'll cut you a check right there. Tell them Lee sent you.
What does that bug man do?
Not only do we do pest control, we do odor control, bat removal, moisture control, rodents, and of course, bed bug control. Give the bug man a call. We get them before they get you.
Welcome back. Lee Burkeen, your host of the Sports Scouting Report podcast. If you hear pans in the back, they're getting food ready here at the Giulio Brothers Italian Restaurant on Perkins Road. About a rock throw from Acadian, about a rock throw from LSU's campus. Homemade Italian food, you've got to have it. I eat here 2 or 3 days a week for the last 20 years. I think Coach Don is our guest. Don Rodrigue, thank you, Don.
Yes, thank you.
You've
for
been here
having
a couple of times over there.
I've eaten here, sat right there in the corner.
In the corner.
I come get me some good Italian food.
And you live in Chack Bay?
Chack Bay,
Which
is Thibodaux.
Thibodaux.
Live out in the country, 10 miles from
I remember, and I'm not from the area, but I remember seeing you at a St. James game. And this was when the late Rick Gailey was the head coach.
Sure.
I miss him, and I know you do. And the game's over, and you're like, Lee, where are you going? I'm like, I got to go back to Baton Rouge. You said, well, we're cooking gumbo.
Sure.
And it's like 10 o'clock. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Gumbo? I love gumbo. And you're like, seafood gumbo? I'm like, oh, no. I'm thinking.
Yes.
And I was like, where's Chack Bay at? When you said Chack Bay, I remember this was like 20 years ago. You're like, it's by Thibodaux.
Yeah. That's only. I live 7 miles from the St. James High School now.
That's why you're there 17
Sure.
years. You could walk to the school.
Yes, yes. But I never was at the new school. I was at the old school. That was 16 miles.
Speaking of that, I want to do the resume on Coach Rod, they call him, Don. And Nicholls State was his third job in college now, but high school-wise, he started at Rain High School. Inherited an 0-10 team, Coach told me. And his second job was H.L. Bourgeois, right outside of Houma. And the third job was college coaching with the late Sonny Jackson at Nicholls State. Coach played at McNeese State as a linebacker back in the day. We're going to have a picture of him later in his McNeese uniform. Was at St. James 17 years. That's when I got to know Coach Don, Coach Rod. First job at Rain was 1972 to 1973, where he coached another high school coach that just retired, Keith Menard.
Yes.
Was your quarterback.
Well, he wasn't at Rain when he was a young guy.
But he came to
He
Rain.
came
to Rain.
after with Louis Cook.
And then you coached at Vandy Catholic in Houma.
Louis Cook took my spot when I left to go to
Unbelievable.
HL. And then he became Louis' quarterback. And then eventually when I was coaching at Nicholls, we recruited Keith.
And Coach Rod played at Thibodaux High School back in the day.
Yes, for Tick Tatum.
And you're college coach Jim Clark signed you, but you played mostly for Jack
Dolan, who became the president, and then he became a U.S. senator. It goes to show how sharp he was.
Who does that?
I don't know.
I don't know any coach that's been a senator besides your old coach. Not from Louisiana, not a coach first. Coach, appreciate you joining us, man.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do for high school sports in Louisiana, especially football.
We're going to talk about the lineman camp that
Yes.
you've been a part of, and I want to mention that. We're going to tease the lineman camp throughout the show because you don't have to be just a lineman to go to it.
No.
It started out as a lineman camp only?
It is. It's like 98% linemen. Some high school coaches want their linebackers to show up,
Tight ends.
tight ends, and we take care of it because you still got to learn how to use your hands.
And if you don't have to be a D tackle, O tackle, you can be a DN.
Sure.
So people that aren't thinking this out,
Play with your hand in the grass.
you qualify.
We take care of you.
That's June 17th to 20th.
Correct.
June 17th to 20th. Lineman camp will be at Nicholls State University.
Yes.
The premier lineman camp, but one of the best in the United States. I know a little bit about it. I'm going to let you promote it heavily, Coach, but it started out, I know, with Jesse Daigle
Yes.
and you and Pete Jenkins.
Well, it started, the ingredients was Jesse Daigle was a running back coach at LSU. Pete Jenkins, a defensive line coach. Kenny Farrell was a tight end line coach. He coached Kevin Mawai. Him and Kevin Mawai, big buddy. But Jesse's son was a quarterback at Catholic High, and he had a number of camps to go to. And they didn't have places for linemen. So between those three guys, they went to a few other state colleges and didn't. They looked at them, Southeastern, Northeast, Northwesterns, UL, and they came to Nicholls. There's the dormitories, the cafeteria, the practice field, everything was walking. So it's been there since 1987. We had under 100 campers. And then shortly with those three letters, LSU, and Jesse was smart enough to hire like a coach from New Orleans, one from Baton Rouge, one from Lafayette, one from Monroe, throughout the whole state. And by word of mouth, in a couple of years, we had over 200. And then we kept steadily growing.
June 17th for registration, 9:30 in the morning to 1:30 p.m. at Bollinger Ballroom.
Yes.
2 o'clock, 4:15 orientation meeting in the Pelchet Hall Ballroom.
Correct.
4:30 to 5:30 dinner. This is just an idea for the kids and parents. 6 to 8 p.m. practice on the field. That's the first day. And 9 to 10:30 p.m. position meetings. This is like college schedule, which is getting them ready.
Yes, I mean, and then the film session with the cut-ups that Pete Jenkins has acquired over all of his years. And it's a teaching tool. He's got arrows pointing at the person, the drill they're going to do. He has coaching hits on it. And it's fabulous. If you're a high school kid and you watching that, you can go back and perform the next day on the field. Now, Mark Songe is the offensive coordinator with Lee Roussel, who was the offensive line coach at Nicholls, who's the head coach at Riverside.
Academy.
They work together and they have the same cut-ups.
A lot of great fundamentals and technique work at this camp. Not just plays. I mean, it's feet.
No, everything
hands,
is technique. The whole idea of the camp is to take a high school guy, if he's a freshman or whatever, that has no technique work. When he leaves and goes back to his high school, he can perform and be productive on a Friday night to make his team better. That's no. As far as recruiting, we don't care if you're a 5-star or a no-star. You're going to get coached the same way.
Use your feet, your hands, everything.
Yes.
The leverage, the whole deal.
The whole thing.
I know Pete Jenkins is a fanatic with the pads and the machines and everything.
Yeah.
Every turn and move and
if you
move or whatever you want to learn.
You go to LouisianaLineCamp.com, you can pull up and go through the whole circuit, the application. We got pictures of previous camps and so on.
So when we come back, we're going to plug it the whole show, but when we come back, I want to see if we can talk about Louisiana college coaches how many of them are from Louisiana? And I'm going to ask Coach if he can guess a number. Now, we got 14 colleges now that have football because Centenary's new. And we had a head coach, Don Lee, on last week from a college in Crowley, which is brand new. So in Louisiana, Christian is now NAI. So we got 14. We used to have 11. So we got a lot of football in Louisiana. We're going to talk about how many of these guys are Louisiana natives that are head coaches. We'll be right back.
Gros Savon Lodge, the true sportsman's paradise. Gros Savon Lodge has fresh and saltwater fishing, alligator hunting, waterfowl hunting, and eco tours located south of Lake Charles, Louisiana. Give them a call at 337-598-2357. That number to call again is 337-598-2357, and have the time of your life. Listen, whatever you're driving right now, Tommy Harvey wants it. Bring it in to Harvey Subaru, Lexus of Shreveport, Bossier City, or John Harvey Toyota. They're paying big bucks for all trades right now. They'll cut you a check right there. Tell them Lee sent you.
Welcome back. Lee Burkeen, your host of Sports Scouting Report podcast. Our guest is Don, Coach Don Rodrigue from Thibodaux, Louisiana. Coached many years, 40 years of college and high school coaching. His first job out of college at McNeese, where he played linebacker, was Rain, Louisiana. Actually, our next show is going to be Rain.
Rain Wolves.
Yeah, your first job out of college as a linebacker, young guy and still full energy, still going at it. And we're going to have pictures in the next segment, our last segment, of Coach Don and Coach Rod and his family, his brothers that played college ball. 5 total played college ball that we're going to have all their – they had a picture with their jerseys on from when they played in college. But let's talk about this before we go back to the camp. So there's 15 colleges in Louisiana now. 15 that have football. 15. And out of that 15, Coach, if you took a wild guess, how many head coaches that coach college ball in Louisiana are from Louisiana? The head coach.
3 or 4. We got Northwestern.
Yeah.
UL, Mike.
Yeah.
And what's the other one I just did?
So Northwestern, Billy Laird's son.
Laird, yeah.
Laird.
And then Mike DeSalmo at UL. And I had one, Rebo.
Rebo, 3. There's 6 total.
6, okay.
6. But I want to go into this. So there's Coach Rebo at Nichols, DeSalmo at UL, Brad Laird at Northwestern State in Natchez, Ben Haddix, Louisiana native with Louisiana Christian.
Oh, okay. All right.
Byron Dawson, Centenary.
Centenary, that's right.
Frank Selfo, Southeastern.
That's correct.
New Iberia native. So got 6 coaches from Louisiana out of the 15. But that means a little something because you were a college coach and you played at McNeese in state, but your head coach on your staff in college was a Louisiana native, the late Sonny Jackson.
Yes.
And the recruiting was really good because y'all had a lot of Louisiana coaches that were natives.
Yes.
You know, Johnny Nagel and Prejean and Ron Brown.
Sonny went out. He did something that was uncharacteristic, is that he hired high school coaches. I mean, I was a high school coach. You know, Johnny Prejean was there, Johnny Nagel, the whole Barrett Murphy. I mean, he hired 5 high school. How many people would do that?
Like Kenny Guillant?
Yeah, Kenny. That's right. I mean, all high school coaches.
That knew all the high school coaches.
We knew them, but we didn't know anything about recruiting. We just went sell. We don't went sell ourselves because most of the high school coaches knew us because we had just did battle with them on Friday nights before that.
But Coach, don't you think it's still an advantage being?
I think it is. I mean, as far as for recruiting and knowing the coaches and so on.
We did have 7, but it was at Orgeron.
Oh.
But he's no longer the head coach at LSU. Speaking of LSU, turning our attention to LSU, Coach Kelly wins 10 games first year. They came off a couple of bad seasons prior to that. But what do you think of Coach Kelly and what he's doing at LSU?
I don't know what to think with portal and NIL anymore. I don't know how they keep the
roster.
A roster.
Oh, speaking of that.
That is a new thing for all those guys.
Yeah.
And how can you keep who's going to be your backup?
I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm going to have fun with something we can talk about right now. Saints roster is 53 players.
Yes.
Non-active practice squad, 16 players. 48 dress a game, which I didn't know till the other day. Only 48 dress in a pro game.
I thought it was 53. I'm guessing.
I learned that yesterday. Now, a college team has free agency because of the portal, right?
Yes.
But they don't have a practice squad.
Nope.
So LSU can't bring in a guy during the season from another college, like the Saints can bring up someone.
Give the lawyers a little bit more time.
They might do that.
You go play somebody at Texas week 1. He's gonna be playing with you by week 7. Don't worry, the lawyers are gonna figure
It's
it out.
coming. But it's so, to me, not normal. And I know you're old school coach.
Yes.
But I looked at it, and I've been following the portal. But really, when you look at it, the college programs right now, even though they have 85 so-called scholarships, they really only have about a pro roster right now.
Yes.
Because they really only have true 53 guys that can play because half the freshmen aren't ready. Most of the freshmen for the year before left. And so there's no true sophomores. There's not a lot of seniors anymore because of the pro draft. So really, you got a pro roster.
I don't know how to. I mean, I found out the other day the ACT score. You don't need an ACT score.
Waived.
You don't need an ACT score.
Isn't that crazy when you were recruiting?
Yes. I mean,
You needed at least a 17 for
Yeah.
the last few years, or a
It was-
16 or 18.
It's unbelievable how they dilute the lawyers and the powers to be are diluting a great thing.
But I didn't know the Saints could only dress 48 a game.
I didn't know
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
53 active and 16 on the practice squad. I wish I was on a practice squad. Those guys make like $200,000 a month on a practice squad.
Sure.
And they don't even practice the whole week like the regular players. That's a good job to have, huh, Coach?
Do it for 10 years.
Do it for 10 years, you make some good
Yeah.
union money
You
there.
made $1 million.
High school football, Coach. You've been going to the games. I ran into you just about anywhere I go.
Yes.
I see you, whether it's Destrehan or Hahnville or St. James, especially river parishes and Houma. And
Yeah, with
Lafourche.
Thibodeau and Lafourche.
But what do you think of our high school football where we are right now?
It's 7-on-7 is great
Yeah,
until your guys not listening to you anymore.
technique and fundamentals.
So no, they going with non-faculty guys that are taking our wonderful game of high school coaches doing the teaching and giving them a philosophy and giving them structure and everything. And the 7-on-7, I don't know how much structure and philosophy that they do. Because you go get the best kid here, the best kid there, you throw them together, and
All-star
the
team.
sportsmanship. When I see on sometime with the sportsmanship, which just kills me when they let a kid just dog another kid who dropped the pass or didn't do something right, and the whole team comes and dogs him. That's not my world the way I grew
That's not
up.
team.
No.
And not only that, you didn't get into have an all-star team. You got into development.
Yeah, coach the kids that went
Teach.
up to elementary school in your area. They come play for you. You develop a team. You develop cohesiveness, and you get chemistry, and you go. And if you're good enough, you make it to the playoffs and keep going.
But you said that's one of your gratifications is teaching a kid.
Teaching a kid from a freshman that doesn't even know anything about technique, and by the end of his freshman year, he knows a little bit. Then he gets, the light comes on, and then you get 11 guys doing the same thing, and then you have a chance of being successful.
Coaching.
Yes,
Right?
coaching.
Coaching.
Yeah, not telling.
Yeah,
Coaching. That's
coaching,
two
coaching.
totally different worlds.
No stars is
telling the
coaching.
kids make the tackle. No.
Yeah, getting them ready.
There's that
Getting them
guy's
ready
a
for
play.
the next.
You know, backpedal
Yeah,
technique. I
yeah.
mean, you know, it's
We're going to take a break. We're going to have more with Coach Rod. And look, we got pictures. The next segment, Coach gave me a bunch of pictures to
Yes.
show. Going back to his McNeese days, his family, his brothers. We'll explain them and show them all. Nicholls State when he was an assistant to the late Sonny Jackson. We'll be right back.
What does that bug man do?
Not only do we do pest control, we do odor control, bat removal, moisture control, rodents, and of course, bed bug control. Give the bug man a call. We get them before they get you.
Gros Savon Lodge, the true sportsman's paradise. Gros Savon Lodge has fresh and saltwater fishing, alligator hunting, waterfowl hunting, and eco tours located south of Lake Charles, Louisiana. Give them a call at 337-598-2357. That number to call again is 337-598-2357, and have the time of your life.
Welcome back. You're watching the Sports Scouting Report podcast and video show. Our guest is Coach Don. Call him Coach Rod. Don Rodrigue from Thibodaux, Louisiana. 40 years as a college and high school coach. And never say never. He's still coaching. And, I mean, these lineman camps, I know it keeps you in the game a little bit, too, because you get to continue to teach.
Yes. Well, I'm not on the field anymore.
Right.
Everything I do is with getting it registration, keeping them, getting dorm rooms and the cafeteria and practice fields and all that.
I want to start showing off some of your pictures that Nolan's going to bring up. But picture one is coaching a Nicholls State coaching outfit, Nicholls State and Thibodaux kneeling back in the old days there in Nicholls State.
Yes.
And then another picture we want to bring up is Nicholls State. He has a hat, blue shirt, red pants, coaching. He's coaching right there, serious in this picture.
That's Kurt Turner in the picture.
Kurt Turner,
a Baton Rouge native.
There you go. And the next picture, Thibodaux, your high school picture of you in a uniform playing football. Purple and white.
That's McNeese.
McNeese.
I was a
it
freshman.
looked like LSU.
That back then, that was McNeese's colors. It was purple and gold.
Not blue.
No, it wasn't.
I learn something every day, Coach.
When I graduated, after the year, when I finished the next year, they went to the blue.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Purple and gold McNeese was back in the...
That was a vote on campus, and the campus wanted to step away from Baton Rouge.
Okay. Pick 4, the 5 brothers. Who do you know that has 5 brothers that play college football? Isn't that crazy?
No. Yep.
This is all of them in their uniforms, the 5 brothers in the family. And another one is a family picture we want to bring up, that you and your family. And the last pick is your sister's wedding as a picture.
Yeah, we all in tuxedos.
And dressed up.
That was Beryl, the last little sister.
Unbelievable.
And she had 3 sons. They all played at EDY.
How many kids total, Coach?
7.
7.
5 boys, then 2 girls.
And you said the sister was probably the most talented sports.
Well, and if she'd have been a boy, she'd have beat all of us. She'd have been better than all of us. She was the queen.
That's pretty
and then
good.
Beryl, the last one, she was the princess.
One brother went to BYU, LSU, I mean, all over.
Perry, number 30, went to with Southeastern first. He was 16 when he was at Southeastern. The story behind him was that when he went to one-room schoolhouse, first row was first grade, second row, well, some kind of way, he ended up on row 2. And then he ends up graduating from high school at 16, so at Southeastern, ends up in the Marines, plays in the Marines for 4 years, ends up at BYU with Virgil Carter. Now, Virgil Carter was the first quarterback in NCAA history to throw for 40 touchdowns in one season.
Nobody talks about him. They talk about Detmer and McMahon, and Steve Young. But he was the first one.
Lavelle was the offensive coordinator.
Lavelle Edwards, yeah.
Lavelle Edwards was the offensive coordinator. Was
the legend.
And my brother Ruffin, who played at LSU, you know, when Cannon was at his banquet in high school. And then my next brother, Barris, Jimmy, he was born with one kidney. So he when he got to LSU, they found out he had pain in his side. And when you're in the NCAA, if you have supposed to have 2 organs, he only had one, he couldn't play anymore.
Okay.
Then I went to
McNeese.
I went to McNeese. My last brother, GA, played at UL. No, excuse me, USL back then when he played. And when I was a senior, he was a freshman. We played in the stadium at UL. We played against each other. I was on one sideline, he was on the other.
Unbelievable. That you don't see that 5 brothers playing college football, D1 football. Coach, the history of the lineman camp goes back
1987.
That's a long time.
Phil Greco was the head coach.
That's a long time.
And like I said, Jesse went out to many of the state colleges, but Nicholls had the ingredients that you want, walking.
Yeah.
And they didn't have to take people to bus and so on.
I want to talk about some notable NFL coaches that have participated in the camp. Carl Dunbar played at LSU. From Plaisance, Louisiana, has been an NFL D-line coach for many years. Bo Davis has been at Alabama, the NFL, Texas. He's been all over.
Texas now.
Played at LSU
Yes.
from Mississippi.
Yeah.
Henry Thomas, Texas native, Minnesota Vikings. probably in their Hall of Fame. Should
He
be.
still comes in work, and I'm gonna tell you what, his
Henry
body
does.
looks like he could still play.
Wow. Henry was a heck of a player. Kevin Mawai, NFL Hall of Famer, was with the Jets, was with the Titans, NFL Hall of Fame from Leesville, Louisiana. Ryan Nielsen, the Saints defensive line coach.
Yes.
We go on Derek LeBlanc, who's Miami Dolphins, was at LSU as a strength coach. His son signed with Florida this year as a D lineman.
Something he signed somewhere.
Uh,
Now, story about Derek. When I was recruiting at Nichols, I sat down and ate supper with him and his family, trying to get him to come to Nichols.
Come on.
But he went to Northwestern. But
Derek LeBlanc's son, I don't know if you saw it, Coach, but he's 6'4",
yeah, he's
290.
He come to work to camp every year.
Graduated in Florida.
Yeah.
Didn't visit LSU, but he signed with I think Florida, the Florida
I'm not
Gators.
sure exactly where he went.
It's the Thibodeau Regional Health System's been a part of it since 14, the camp?
No, they've been since '87.
Since 87, okay. I know it says here partnered, but
But the
Steve,
health system didn't
Right.
start till 14.
Right.
We all the time had them involved in it.
and then Pete Jenkins, if you want to plug Pete,
Well,
is a
Pete was one of the original owners, and It's so much of a technician. He's so well known. I mean, that was a few years where Pete, the Curly Holman rule, the Pete Jenkins rule, when he couldn't coach because
and
he was
do-
coaching at Mississippi State or Auburn, so he would still come on campus, but he never left the coaching office, and we had guys from Florida, all the SEC school defensive linemen were on campus.
The lineman camp, we got about a minute left, or under a minute, but the lineman camp, June 17th to the 20th. Coach, tell them how they can look you up and register. What email?
LouisianaLineCamp.com.
Say it again.
LouisianaLineCamp.com.
If you're tight end too, or you want to get some work in and learn technique, learn how to play the game, you don't have to be a prospect
No,
to go to this. Just be a football player.
Yeah.
And then also I want to mention Dr. David Elias, who's worked with you, Coach, with the pro. You have another camp, pro football camp,
Which is the Tim Rebo camp.
Tim Rebo camp, who's the head coach of Nicholls State. It's July 21st.
It's a one-day camp.
One-day camp on a Friday, 7:30 in the morning to 12:30 in the afternoon at Guidry Stadium, Nicholls State University. It's called the Pro Football Camp, PFC.
PFC, ProFootballCamp.com, and you can register online. We've gone to registration online, and that's a $50 camp fee.
And I see the picture from the camp. It looks like about a few hundred kids there.
Last year we had 430. We started in 14 years ago with under 100. Last year we had 430.
Coach, before we go, what football team besides St. James impresses you coming back this coming year? I know St. James will be talented again.
In our area, Vanderbilt Catholic.
Super running back Coleman.
Yep.
Great
But
job.
with
Tommy Minton's done.
Tommy Minton. But their defensive staff, I'll put them up against anybody.
Great
If they
crew.
can get the Jimmys and Joes, Lance Day is the defensive coordinator with BradvilleAvosta, Tommy Boudreau, Mark Millett. There's
few guys there.
They got a few guys.
Always good talent in that Houma Lafouche area. And even South Terrebonne's got a good young coach.
Yes.
South Lafouche has a
Aaron
great
Babin.
coach.
Aaron Babin.
South Lafouche is old Southeastern quarterback
Yeah,
at South Lafouche.
BJ Young.
BJ, yeah, I mean, great guy. And, you look at Ellender, you look at Terrebonne, and you look at H.O. Bourgeois, and then you got Covington Christian, Houma Christian. We go on and on
Yes.
and on. We're going to leave somebody out, but great area in football.
But some of the high schools in the state that come, Calicut, Baton Rouge will have about 50 kids. Dutchtown will have it in the 30s. Santa Mo's going to have it in the 30s. Lauraville High School, a AA high school in Southwest Louisiana, they're going to have 15 to 16. The best thing about Lauraville is that the town
Unbelievable.
does the fundraising, and their booster club writes a check for all their kids. And if that's not investing in our youth, the city of Louisville has figured it out how to invest in the youth.
Less than 1,300 kids in the school, and they dress 50 every year.
Yes.
Unbelievable. And I want to mention this.
Coach Terry Martin.
I went to Catholic High Baton Rouge practice, all right, late, and many practices were already in.
Yeah.
They're going to dress 100 and something. And their quarterback, Daniel Bill, he is LSU good.
Yeah.
And he's got Tech offered him and all kind of different schools. but he is, to me, he's got that it, Coach.
Yeah.
And he's being looked at by the big guys. Now he's got all the mid-range D1 offers. He's got like 30 of them. But he is, to me, one of the special quarterbacks in the state.
And another thing about the camp, last year in the non-select state championship game with Lutcher and North DeSoto, we had 35 guys that was on our at the line camp between those two schools.
Unbelievable.
That's
Dwayne
pretty
Jenkins, heck of a coach at
Yes,
Lutcher.
yes.
And Dennis Dunn's a heck of a coach at North
so
DeSoto.
They've figured out. E.D. White's the last 2 years has having 21. Thibodeau is going to have over 20 this year.
Getting the North Louisiana kids.
Yes. Mandeville's been having in the teens. St. Paul's and Covington's going to have about 15.
June 17th to 20th at Nicholls State, the lineman camp. Get in touch with Coach Rod. And again, look, and if you're watching the show today, hit the subscribe button. It's free to help us grow, and also share it, like it. Go to wherever you get your on YouTube. Go over where you get your podcasts. We're on Podbean, but YouTube, we have it. Also Twitter. Instagram, we just started, Coach. I still don't know how to do it, but we've got it. And
that's a curveball to me.
That's it. Coach, thank you for joining us, man.
Thank you for having us and promoting, doing stuff for our youth in our area.
Appreciate it. No problem. Love doing it. That was Coach Don Rodrigue, and glad to have him on, and we'll see everybody on Friday.
Thanks for listening to the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Burkeen.